Hello Collins Cobras, this is Mrs. Hernandez from LC62 and I'll be hosting your video today covering word problems with proportions. Proportions is one of my favorite topics we learn in 6th grade math because it helps us take information that is known to solve for information that is unknown or information that is missing. And the most important thing you can do to make sure your proportions are set up correctly is to label them with the units that are in the word problem. So let's look at example 1. We're going to be learning how to solve proportions in word problems with a scale factor. We're going to be talking about using cross products to write an equation, and we're going to talk about a special situation called dividing the whole. So we're starting with our scale factor, and our first example says, Sheldon and Leonard are partners in a business. Sheldon makes $2 in profits for every $5 that Leonard makes. If Leonard makes $20 on the first item they sell, how much profit does Sheldon make? So we want to set up our original proportion using information that we know, and our labels are already there for us. This is what it means by labeling your proportion. The units that we're talking about are Sheldon's profit compared to Leonard's profit. And when Sheldon makes $2, Leonard makes $5, and that information came directly from the word problem. So we can set up our original ratio of 2 to 5. The next thing we need to know is where are we going to put this $20 into that proportion? Well, the labels again help us to make sure we know where to put that information because it says that it's Leonard's profit. So Leonard's label is down here on the bottom, so we know that $20 would be this bottom term here, and the information that's unknown is the amount of profit Sheldon will make when Leonard makes $20. So a way that we can solve this is, here it says to use common denominators. A more accurate term for that would be using our scale factor. So it says here that 5 times 4 is 20. That's the scale factor. Times 4 is our scale factor. Because we can see that the relationship between 5 and 20 is to multiply by 4, that means that we can use that same relationship here on these top terms, 2 times 4, to give us our missing information, which would be 8. So when Leonard earns $20, Sheldon earns $8. Okay, let's look at another example where we can use scale factor to solve a word problem. The distance between Sandville and Lewiston is shown on the map. What is the actual distance between the towns? And when it says what is the actual distance, it's talking about miles. Because this scale on the map tells us that we're comparing inches to miles, and when we're measuring actual distance, that would be in miles. So I'm going to set up our labels. Inches to miles, and we're going to use the information right here in the scale to set up our original ratio. So it's 1 inch to 20 miles. To set up our equivalent ratio to start making our proportion, we're going to use this information here, that on the map from Sandville to Lewiston it's 2.5 inches. Since that's a unit of inches, we're going to put it with our other inches information, which is here on top. And what we're missing is the miles that are equivalent to 2.5 inches. This time I'm going to start here on the top because I know both of the pieces of information in my top terms. And I want to ask myself, what is the relationship between 1 and 2.5? What can I multiply by 1 to get 2.5? And that's going to be my scale factor. And the answer to that is to multiply by 2.5. Since we multiplied by 2.5 to get this information, that means that we can do the same thing, apply the same relationship down here to find this missing information. So 20 times 2.5 will give us the missing measurement in miles. So we find that x is equal to 50, so it's 50 miles from Sandville to Lewiston. Sometimes when we're solving proportions, it's hard to find the scale factor. So another way that we can solve is called using cross products to write an equation. So if we look at this example here, I have to start on the bottom because that's where I know both of the terms, and I would ask myself, what can I multiply by 7 to get 25? There is not a whole number that we can multiply by 7 to get 25, so it's difficult to use the scale factor. So that's why we're going to try cross products. And cross products is going to tell us to multiply the terms that are across from each other. That's why it's called cross products. So we have 25 times x, which we're going to write as 25x, and 7 times 20, which is 140. Now we have a one-step equation to solve. We know that 25x means 25 times x, and the inverse would be to divide by 25. 25 divided by 25 is 1, and we write 1x as just x. We need to keep the equation balanced and make the same change to the other side, so I'm also going to divide by 25 on this side of the equation as well. So let's do top in, bottom out to find our quotient. And we find that x is equal to 5 6/10. So that's another way to solve proportions. Okay, our next example says the length of a picture is 4 inches and the width is 6 inches. I want to enlarge the picture proportionally to not skew the image. If I want the picture to be 15 inches wide, what should be the length? So we need to begin with our labels, and we are talking about length and width. So the original picture was 4 inches in length to 6 inches in width. And then the last piece of information that we know is that the new picture is going to be 15 inches wide. Since that represents a width, we're going to put it down here with our width information. So the information that's missing is the length when the picture is 15 inches wide. So if I was going to use a scale factor, I would be considering these two terms here because that's where I have both pieces of information. There is not a whole number that I can multiply by 6 to get 15, so it's hard to find the scale factor, so we are going to use our cross products again. 6 times x is 6x, and 4 times 15 is 60. Now we have a one-step equation to solve to help us find our missing information. 6x means 6 times x, so we're going to divide by 6 to solve. And 6 divided by 6 is 1, so we'll write x. We need to make the same change to the other side of the equation, so we'll divide by 6 over here as well. And we find that x is equal to 10. So when the picture is 15 inches wide, it will be 10 inches long. Now the last thing we need to talk about is a special situation called dividing the whole. Nisha has $60. She wants to share this money with her brother and sister in a ratio of 6 to 4. She needs to know the share of money for each of her siblings. How much money will she give to her brother, and how much will she give to her sister? So the reason this is called dividing the whole is because I don't know how much money her brother and sister are going to get. I just know the total amount of money that's going to be shared based on this ratio. And so since we know the total or the whole amount of money, it's called dividing the whole. The first step when we're solving a dividing the whole problem is to find the total number of parts in the ratio. So to do that, we take the ratio, which was 6:4, and we add the parts from both the top term and the bottom term. So 6 plus 4 gives us a total of 10 parts. The second step is to divide the whole by the number of parts. So in this situation, the whole, or the total amount of money, was $60. And we're going to divide that by the 10 parts. The total number of parts in this ratio was 10, so we're going to divide by 10. So we find that each part of the ratio is equal to $6. And then the third step is to multiply the value by the parts. And what that means is, going back to the original ratio, so her brother's money to her sister's money, a ratio of 6:4, so her brother gets 6 parts of her money, her sister gets 4 parts of her money. Well, each part is worth $6. So we're going to multiply the value of the part, which was $6, by the number of parts. So her brother gets 6 parts times $6, so he gets $36. Her sister gets 4 parts times $6, so her sister gets $24. And that's our answer. Okay, we have one more example of dividing the whole. The ratio of boys to girls in the school play is 5:2. There are 49 kids in the school play. How many are boys? So again, this is a dividing the whole because I only know the total amount of kids or the whole amount of kids in the school play, and I want to know how many are boys. So we're going to start with step 1, which is finding the total number of parts in the ratio. So we had a ratio of 5:2. So there are 7 parts in this ratio. Step 2 was to divide the whole by the number of parts. The whole amount of kids in the school play was 49. And we're going to divide that into 7 parts. So there are 7 students in each part. And then step 3 is to go back to our original ratio of boys to girls, which was 5:2. And 5 parts of boys would be 5 parts times 7 students. So there are 35 boys in the school play. And that's our final answer because the question only asked us for the number of boys in the school play. If we wanted to find the number of girls, we could also multiply 2 parts girls times 7 students and find that information as well. Okay, don't forget to do the practice page after this lesson and have an awesome day.